clicking that we were doing for each will be done for all. And if you see, the status is now cancelled from error. So this means the workflow has been logically deleted. This is very useful and you get a lot of item for this. Okay. So let's now go to the next task. Now check workflow notification is being sent to email client. So this is also very important because lots of times people are not really logged into work SAP all the time. So they need an intimation in Outlook or Lotus Notes being sent. So in order to check, lots of time people say, oh, I never got an intimation for this thing, or notification or not being sent. So in order to get to know whether a notification is being sent, is you need to go to this transaction SOST. Okay. And if you see, some of these are now green. So green means it has been sent. Something is red, that means it's not being sent. So if it's red, that means the user is not really getting anything. If it's green, the user is getting. So anything that is sent from SAP to Outlook or other email client will have green. Now, it may still not show up in Outlook because you might have set up a rule that anything that comes through workflow batch or anything that comes through SAP goes in junk. So that part we cannot do anything. We can only check this green portion and we can say, hey, it went to the exchange. Now it's up to you whether you have set it up wrongly, your folder, your email folder. That's why you're not getting, okay? So the next task that we have is SWUET code. So lots of times it happens that we created a purchase order and there was some error and the event didn't get triggered. So in those cases we can trigger an event. Okay, for those cases to trigger a workflow, as I said, most of the workflows that are triggered in a system is triggered by an event. Okay. So let me just now go to this transaction code SWUE. So if you notice, the first important thing here you have to notice, every transaction code, every transaction in SAP is been defined as a business object in SAP. So purchase order is called bus 2012. Now how you'll know it? Well, you can just find it from here. Okay. So if I do a search, and you can do a search on purchase, okay, and here you see purchase order. So if I double click on it, that's the purchase order. Okay, now which event that triggers a workflow, you will get to know by checking the workflow templates. Okay, but again, as and when you're doing more administration, you'll get to know. So here it's by default it's release type created. Okay, and now here I'll just put a purchase order. Okay, so I'll put a purchase order. A purchase order is always starts with 4-5. That's the way the number range is set up. And here, if you see, you can click on event receiver. If you click on event receiver, you can see that this is the workflow template number. That's like the program name for the workflow template for the purchase order, and this is the event that will get triggered, and this will trigger this workflow. And if I click on create event, if you notice, this event created at least one receiver found. So the workflow will trigger the event will trigger the workflow for this. So just to check whether the workflow got triggered or not, we just go to ME23N. So that's the transaction code to display a purchase order. Okay, and here we will put the purchase order number, and here you'll see the workflow overview. So if you notice, a lot of workflows are already triggered. Okay? So let's get to the next slide. So lots of times the next transaction code is to check how many workflows that got really triggered in the system for different instances, different types of business process, purchase order, purchase requisition. So for that you can use this transaction code SWI2 underscore FREQ. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go back here, go to my favorite folder, and I click on SWI2 underscore FREQ, and I'll just put a duration last 30 days. Now dialog means work items that are assigned to users, and sub workflow means it's like based on the transaction document wise. Okay, like a purchase order can have 5 approvals. Okay, so it will, instead of showing 5 approvals, it will show 1. That's what I want. Okay, and I'll just execute. So if you notice, these are all the workflows that has been triggered. So this is very much useful for as KPIs, as how many POs are going into workflow and what is the process and all those things. Now if I just double click on one, okay, it will give me more details, who has triggered and all those things. Okay, so let's go to the presentation. Okay, now this is the last thing. This is the last slide we have. Now for all, at the end of the day in SAP or SAP, everything is a table. I wanted to include this in the slide because this table is very useful and you might be using it. Okay, because it gives you all the statuses, all the work item IDs that has been used to trigger. Okay, so here we will just log in. We'll go to /n SE16. Okay, this is the transaction code and it's across everywhere. Now here I'll put SWWI. So here, so if I put a creation date, suppose today, whether any workflows got triggered today. If you notice, there are so many workflows that got triggered today. Okay, so here if you see, if I just double click on one, here you can see who is the agent, what is the status, what is the workflow ID, what is the task. So this is very useful, and you might be, if you're doing workflow administration, there might be cases where the business might be asking data related with this. If you don't get the data from the transaction code we have given, it's the best place to go is, or the best place to start or find anything is through this table. Okay, so that marks the end of this presentation. I hope you learned a lot through this presentation, and please let me know your feedback, and thanks for watching this video.